I'm Alice Cooper, and you're not. So
that's pretty obvious.
That's a big problem for you. Yes.
How you going today, Alice? Look like in a good mood.
How you doing, man? Everything's great. Everything's great. You know, we're getting ready to start the American leg of the tour now, and we've already done 52 shows, so we're ready to go out and finish up till November.
He's busy, man. And in the meantime, you're going to be releasing your latest album, Road, on August the 25th. Like, you're no stranger to this, mate, having already released nearly 30 albums over your career, but do you still get nervous or anxious the closer it gets to release date?
Yeah, you know, you always do, except for the fact that it's a hard rock album, you know, and it's an Alice Cooper album all the way. This album came about by me trying to show off my band. My touring band is so good that I said, I want to do all these new songs about the road, but I want to do them live in the studio.
Right.
I don't want to, you know, maybe we'll do 2 or 3 overdubs on the whole album, but live in the studio. And this band killed it. They went in, they all, you know, we all wrote the songs, and then they just went in and nailed it in the studio.
There's probably some people out there, bro, that don't know too much about music jargon. So when you say live in the studio, what does that actually mean?
Well, it means the band is actually playing the song. We're not layering it. In other words, a lot of albums are done where you put the bass and drums down, and then you get them perfect, and then you put a guitar on, and then you put another guitar on, then you do a vocal, then you put a keyboard, and you mix it all together.
Right.
With this, I wanted the band to play, all 5, 6 people in the studio, play that song. We just wrote that song, play it live, and I'm going to take the best cut. I'm going to take the best take. And that way you don't lose the energy. You know, you can beat a song to death by just playing it over and over and over in the studio. This band is so good. They did everything in 2 or 3 takes, you know, and what you're hearing on the album is you hear that live, you hear that energy, you know, on each track.
Right. And you say your touring band are great, man. I've seen you a number of times and then they're great, but do they actually contribute to the writing of the songs, or do you do that and then they come in and play on it?
Generally, I write the songs with 1 or 2 writers, you know, and Ezra and I write a lot together. But on this one, I said, I want you guys to all write something about the road, because that's where we live. You know, we live on the road, and there's so many aspects. There's funny things that happen. There's horrible things that happen. There's great things that happen. I said, find something about the road that either you hate or you love, or that's ironic or satirical. And then when you bring it in, Bob and I will do surgery on it and turn it into an Alice Cooper song. We'll learn it that way and then record it that way.
Right. And do you think that worked a lot better this time around doing it that way?
I think that you really get the advantage of hearing what a real band sounds like.
Yeah.
Instead of what, you know, I mean, I love perfect albums. You know, Beatle albums are all perfect albums. Queen albums are perfect. You know, there's so many bands that make absolutely perfect albums. I kind of like to hear a band that sounds like a band.
Yeah.
That sounds like they maybe go a little bit left here, they go a little bit right there, but the feel is great. And that's what you're looking for, is how good is the feel.
So we've established it as basically a rock album, which always comes from Alice Cooper, of course, but you've released the singles White Line, Frankenstein, and I'm Alice. So are they a good sonic representation of what to expect?
Well, you know, I exaggerate every character. So we wrote this White Line Frankenstein about, I have truck drivers and bus drivers that will do 3 months with my tour. And then they go right to another tour and do 3 months. And then they go right to another tour. And I'm going, this guy lives in this cab. This is his world. He's the Frankenstein. He's Godzilla. You know, I own this world. Yeah. So that's where you know, and it rhymed nice, White Line Frankenstein, you know,
Yeah.
and you're, because that's what this guy is, you know, he owns this thing. Every single character on this, on that we're talking about on this album is an exaggerated version of something that's real.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, cool. And you also opened the album with I'm Alice, and the first thing I thought of when I saw that was like as if he has to introduce himself. Everyone knows who he is.
Well, the thing is I think people by now understand that I play the character Alice.
Yeah.
You know, I am nothing like Alice. You know, I sit and talk to everybody. I'm considered the nicest guy in the business. Alice is just not that. You know, so Alice is up there bragging about himself. I said, I'm going to write a song where Alice brags about himself.
Right.
You know, but that's not coming from me bragging about me. I'm talking about Alice. And he's this arrogant, condescending villain, you know, talking about, yes, I'm this and I'm that and everything. And you have to remember also, there's a young audience out there that have no idea who Alice is. So I'm kind of bringing them up to date.
Right. So along those lines, mate, like you say, it is an alter ego. Like when you sit down to write, do you have to put yourself in a different mindset to become that person?
Yeah, because I really am usually writing for that character.
Yeah.
You know, I'm usually not talking about my own personal emotions on this. I'm talking about how Alice feels about it. Now, the only song on that album that is a song that's a reality song would be Baby Please Don't Go, because everybody in every band has had that moment where they have to get up in the morning and they're saying goodbye to their wife or their lover, and they're going to be gone for 3 months. And he gets right to the door and she goes, baby, please don't go. And it just breaks your heart, you know, because both of you know you have to go.
Yeah.
But there's that last plea of baby, please don't go,
Yeah.
you know, and I wanted that to be a heartbreaker. And that's why that's the ballad on the album, you know.
You're gonna have to write a sequel to that one for when he gets home and she says, just piss off and go again, will you?
Yeah, right. That probably does happen. She's, yeah, don't let the door hit you, okay?
And as we mentioned before, mate, like you've done a lot of albums in your time. Like, do you think it becomes easier or harder to come up with new material the more you do?
Well, you know, I'm always going to do classic Alice albums, which is a thematic album that tells one big story, but every song tells a story of its own, and you put them all together and they tell the big story. I've done that since the very beginning. And I don't think I'll ever write, you know, just for here's a single for Spotify, here's a single for this. I just can't do that. You know, same thing with Aerosmith, same thing with Guns N' Roses. These bands, they make albums because there's fans out there that want to hear new music. We're at this point, we're not doing it for the money. You know, we made all our money back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, you know. So now you're making an album for your fans.
That actually sort of leads me on to another question I've got, mate. Like, you've made that many albums. You're probably one of the few artists who can never make an album again and still manage to have a full live set that people love. Like, why do you keep putting new music out when you don't really need to?
You know, I heard them ask the same thing to Bob Dylan. And Bob Dylan says, I write songs. He said, I record songs and I play songs for the audience. That's what I do. He does 200 shows a year, Bob Dylan.
Amazing.
And I thought about that and I said, that's exactly what I do. I said, I can't think of anything I would rather do than that. You know, people say, well, why don't you retire? And I go, why? I'm at the top of my game right now.
True. And the press release says that Road channels the spirit of old school Alice. Like, to you, what is the spirit of old school Alice?
Well, you know, every band, especially hard rock bands, guitar-driven hard rock bands, have a history of who they learned from. You know, of course, everybody learned from the Beatles. The Beatles were the core. They were the best songwriters. They were the best singers. We all go back to that when it comes to songwriting. But the bands that we grew up with the Yardbirds and the Who and the Kinks, you know, bands like that. And it was more the electric guitar bands. The guitar players were the gunslingers, you know, and the lead singer was this, you had to have a certain amount of, a strut in yourself, because we all looked at Mick Jagger and went, well, that's what we need to do right there. And we all did it a different way. We all created a different way. So when rock goes to punk and it goes to grunge then, and then it goes to emo, and then it goes to disco and hip hop, the one kind of music that never changes is guitar driven hard rock. It goes right through the middle of everything. It never goes out of style. And it's because there's something about it that's sexual. There's something about it that's tribal. There's something about it that just angry. It's got an angry outlaw feel to it.
Very cool. And your live shows too are legendary, mate. Like, especially your set pieces. So over all the ones you've done over the years, which one's your favorite?
There's so many things. I look back at some of the things that you did, and there, when you're Alice Cooper, there are a lot of Spinal Tap moments.
Yeah,
of things that you're sure is going to work. You're sure that's going to work, and it falls apart on stage. And then something that's an accident ends up being the audience reacts to the accident, and so you say, well, keeping that in then, So I mean, the hanging and the guillotine are so traditional with Alice, because Alice is a villain. He's Darth Vader. He's Dracula. In the end, you can't just let him go away. Every good movie, every good book you've ever read, every good play, the bad guy's got to get it in the end. Yeah. And so Alice, of course, has to get his head cut off. And then he comes back, school's out, white top hat and tails, reborn. He's not dead yet.
Right. So there's a bit of a message in everything you do. Like, they're not just stage shows for gimmicks for effect. There's actually a bit of a story in all of it.
Oh, absolutely. Like Welcome to My Nightmare. It was about a little boy that couldn't wake up from his nightmare. And so when you say Welcome to My Nightmare, to me, I'm thinking a giant bed coming down off the stage and dancers coming from under the bed that are creatures and giant spiders climbing up. I mean, it's a nightmare. So give the audience the nightmare. To me, that's just natural. So now when we go out and do a tour, I think that people want to see the classic Alice bits. Alice in a straitjacket, breaking out and killing the nurse, and then them cutting his head off, and then him coming back. There's a certain style of dark vaudeville that we do.
Yeah. You know what I love about it though, bro? Like, you've done it so many times, but even talking to you now about it, like, you still get excited. Like, it'd be so it's stale, but you're still excited. It's great.
Well, here's something that I think a lot of people should know, is that when you go to the circus and you see the guy inside of the cage with 5 tigers and lions, and all he has is a chair. Yeah. At some point, that tiger could say, I had enough of that chair, and kill the guy, right? Sure. He's in danger. The guy in the tightrope up there without a net underneath. It could be that night where he falls. The blade that I use in the guillotine is a real blade.
Wow.
It's a 40-pound blade, and it misses me by this much every single night. So there is an element of real danger in what I do up there. And I want the audience to feel that this could be the night that actually does get his head cut off.
God, it'd be a bittersweet way to go, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be appropriate, I think.
So speaking of live shows, mate, like, is Australia in your near future plans?
Oh yeah, Australia should be next summer. We're finishing up the American tour, and then we'll take this tour out all over the world next year. And probably the vampires that did Europe will come to the States. So, I mean, I kind of flip-flop them both. With the vampires, it's a little harder because Joe is with Aerosmith, and they're doing their final tour. Johnny's doing movies. He's directing, and he's in 2 movies coming up. And then I've got my tour. So we have to, find a 3-month period where none of us are doing anything. And that might be a year and a half from now, but we have to look at that and say, okay, this is our period of time. And then we have to take advantage of that period, because right after that, we all go back to our other jobs.
Yeah, true. All right, so I'm starting up a 3 new Spotify playlists for Heavy, mate, and you're going to be the very first person I ask this for, but I want 3 songs from you for each playlist. Can you give me one of your songs that'll get you ready for a night out, one of your songs that'll save your marriage after the night out, and one of your songs that'll end your marriage if you want out of it.
Okay. I think the song that's going to get you ready is always going to be well, Poison is going to be in there somewhere. I think Poison might be the one that gets you in trouble.
The one that ends your marriage?
And I think maybe $1 Billion Babies is the wake-up song.
Yep.
And the one that gets you out of trouble is You and Me. You and me ain't no movie stars. What we are is what we are. You know, it's a pure love song to the girl.
Fantastic, mate. That's a beautiful way to start it. So thanks very much for your time today, Alex. Always a pleasure speaking with you, mate. Road is out August 25th, and I was lucky enough to have a listen before I spoke with you. And as you say, it's classic Alice Cooper stuff. It's good tongue in cheek, good storyline, and great music, brother. So well done.
Hey, thank you, and good luck with your band.
Drive alone. I'm the seventh son and I'm bad to the bone. I feel a little bit dead, but tonight I'm alive. Got a load in my nose. I'm gonna drive. Got no wife, no snotty kids. Got no alimony. I live for the road 'cause I gotta be free. They call me White Line Frankenstein. White Line Frankenstein. On the road to the show, I'm a gigolo, and all the girls know they can get a ride. Oh yeah. 'Cause I'm a hell of a man, and a one-night stand, they're eating out of my hand, so satisfied. The highway's my heart, and this truck is my home. I'm a road rat, baby, I'm a rock and rolling stone. They call me White Line Frankenstein. White Line Frankenstein. That's me. Full of gas, get out of my way 'cause I'm moving fast. I'm rolling thunder at lightning speed. Got this metal monster that I gotta